Welcome to the show. Today we're talking with my friend Mark Edward. He's a skeptic and a magician, but he also used to be a fake phone psychic. And today he's going to teach us all those little tricks that fake psychics use. Well, all psychics are fake, as we'll hear on the show today. He's going to teach us those tricks, give us an inside look at some of the stories of the psychic con game. Without further ado, here's Mark Edward. So I read the book, which I thought was very interesting. I thought, okay, I've always wanted to kind of get the lowdown on, I mean, what do you call it? A fake psychic network, psychic hotlines? I don't know. Even
No, they're
yeah,
they're all fake.
yeah,
There is no such thing
right.
as a psychic.
Well,
That's why when you say fake psychic,
right.
it's
It's
redundant.
yeah. I guess that's true. Be like saying milky,
Yeah.
very milky milk. Um,
Yeah.
the fake psychic thing is fascinating. I want to get a little bit of background on this because now you're an outspoken skeptic. So it's like you make a point to say, hey, psychics are fake. This is fake. But before that, that was what paid the bills. So I'm wondering, how'd you get into
No,
this?
no, I was a psychic. I was a skeptic all along. My idea was to scam the scammers. So the book is, leaning towards a believer, but the idea was that I wanted to learn and understand all the methods they were using, and you can't just get the methods by saying, "Hey, how did you do that?" They'll just say, "I have psychic powers." So I had to learn how to manipulate people just like they did. So was never a believer, and even though, yeah, I did take some money from people for a while, it was the ends justified the means, and I stand by that. Because if you read the book, you'll get the drift pretty strong.
I did, and I got the drift. Yeah. Yeah. It's entertainment. They tell you that because that's what it is. And also mostly for legal reasons. I'm sure if they didn't have to tell you it was entertainment, they would tell you it was real. Um, and I was surprised to hear that Miss Cleo was from Detroit. That's where I'm from. And, she didn't play a very convincing Jamaican witch doctor or whatever it was on the commercials, but it still surprised me that she was like just a regular old Detroiter, just like me, telling me she had a dream about me.
Well, the thing of it is, all psychics are actors portraying the part of a voodoo priest or whatever you decide you want to work on to get your character together. But it's just like a magician that works on a character, and
Yeah,
it's all
of
fake.
course. Yeah, I mean that kind of goes. Well, I would say it goes without saying, but it really doesn't. There are tons of people that believe in this, and I get messages all the time from people that say things like, "I'm really glad you go so hard against scammers and against multi-level marketing and against trickery and against this and that and the other thing. Let me know if you ever want to have me on your show. I'm an intuitive. What is it? Empath or intuitive?
Intuitive
Yes, intuitive
clairvoyant.
clairvoyant."
That's what I used to refer
Yeah,
myself as.
and I wonder. It's I'm naive, Mark. What can I say? Are some of these people, do they believe that they're that, but they're just really good at reading other people using conventional techniques? Or are they all, is it such a skill that you can't do it by accident and everyone who does it is just a scammer?
Oh,
You
you
can't.
can do it by accident, and oh yeah, and since I did the Penn and Teller, I did the pilot episode of Penn and Teller's bullshit, and that was many years ago. But since I did that episode, many people who thought they were psychic and were going around giving people advice and readings realized that all they were doing was cold reading, but they didn't know it. And in our work that we do here, we recently had a woman who, I won't mention any names, but she's completely deluded that she is real. And yet she can't, we get readings and there's nothing there. It's all just, she's deluded. I like to say that 95% of the people out there, in my opinion, again, this is my opinion, it may not be anybody else's, but through my experience, 95% of the people who are out there doing business and getting paid to be psychic are outright charlatans and know what they're doing is fake. The other 5% can kind of be divided into two areas. 2.5% are deluded, like this woman that we've been talking to. She just doesn't know any better. She is naive. She thinks that just common sense or intuition is some sort of special power that she has. Then the other 2.5% are really strongly intuitive, compassionate people who really believe they're helping people. And they do. And they're out there. But when you balance 2.5% against 97.5%, the odds are not in your
Yeah.
favor. So, so buyer beware. That's all. I mean, if you can find somebody you can talk to, it doesn't have to be a psychic. It can be a bartender or a coach, or I don't care. But be careful, because the whole point is they get their hooks in you. They try and find, we call them grief vampires. They're the ones that say they talk to the dead and all that. Once they get their claws into you and they find your weakness, they will never let go.
I've experienced some of this. I think we talked about this months ago when I was first chatting with you. I have a family friend, my wife's side of the family friend, something, something, something. She is very superstitious, but also she was loaded. She inherited the money, as one does,
Not
and
a good combination.
not a good combination. No, and the psychic that or the when I say psychic, I'm now talking officially about it. Since we all know all psychics are fake, I don't have to say fake psychic. It's just easier.
Right.
I'll just say psychic. The psychic that she'd hired coincidentally would want to come over after a while and started, she was giving her money and money and money and money and giving her probably like $100,000 or something like that by this point. And then the woman's coming over and saying, I think that there are objects in your house that actually have, in Chinese, it's called like xie qi, like bad energy or something like that, like bad evil spirits, basically, is what that sort of translates to. So she came over and she managed to spot family heirlooms and expensive things that of just coincidentally.
We'll take care of those for you.
Right.
We'll take care of those.
But that's a family heirloom. Don't worry. I'm just going to take it and put it in my sacred
vault.
chamber or vault or whatever, and I'm going to cleanse it for you for 20
I'm
grand.
laughing, but I mean,
it's laughable. It's sad, but it's laughable.
It is, but people are superstitious, and it's very sad. We just did a television spot for a show that's going to be coming on as a mini series called The Con. And
I'm also in that.
Oh, you're in that?
I'm in that for a different thing, an entirely different thing. The season finale. I don't think I'm supposed to say it on this show, but I'll tell you after we hang up, because I don't know what I'm allowed to say. But go ahead, continue.
Well, they didn't give me any.
You didn't sign anything
with it. No, and I didn't.
Cool.
And I didn't get paid either. So it's kind of like you get what you pay for. No, it's going to be a very important show. The woman that I'm talking about, she lost $780,000.
Wow. Ugh. Makes my head hurt hearing about that.
And she kept going back and going back and going, because it's an addiction. They're like psychic junkies. They believe that object is cursed, and they'll pay to have that psychic or that medium, plate it in gold, but it's going to cost $30,000 to do that, and that will keep the evil spirits inside the object. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. If you're a billionaire, what the hell? But in these times, you have to really be careful.
Yeah, of course. And so looking at this as a con, which is what it is, and it goes all the way back to there's technique here, and I would love to get into the technique, because the technique that you discuss in the book, it is called cold. One of the techniques, anyway, is called cold reading. Can you explain what this is? This is a really fascinating thing that a lot of people can do, and everyone has seen, but they just didn't know what it was called.
I know, but I want to make a very important point that you just covered. Is everyone wants to know the technique, and the last thing I want to do is inculcate a whole new crop of
phonies,
scam artists. So I'm happy to reveal the secrets that I know, but I don't feel good about it, because once you understand it, if you understand it and you're a skeptical, rational person, that's one thing. If you hear this and you understand it as a way to get a leg up on everybody else, I'm aware of that. Okay,
Yeah.
so, but I'll tell you the difference. There's cold readings and there's hot readings. Cold reading is when uh, you meet somebody you've never met before and you convince them that you know everything about them, past, present, and future. And it is a technique. It can be learned, and the more you do it, it's like juggling or magic or anything else. The more you learn it and practice it, the better you get at it. And I personally, I love it because my background is in magic. So if I can weave some of the techniques of cold reading into my mentalism or my magic when I'm performing in the midst of that, it adds another layer of believability. So as an actor, again, it helps me get inside somebody's head.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's really powerful because you're working with suggestion and coincidence, and but all it is you're just giving somebody the once over. For me, it's visually, as soon as I meet somebody or I see them, if I'm sitting at a little table reading tarot cards, I see somebody walk in the door, I immediately give them the once over. I look at their shoes, their hair, their clothes, the way they're walking, their general attitude. And generally, before they even sit down at the table, I know everything I need to know about them. I know what they want to know. I know where they want to go. I know, and there's nothing psychic about it. It's profiling basically, and it's called in the FBI and CIA. It's called situational awareness.
Mhm.
When you walk into a room and you're trained, you immediately, somebody who works in like a government agency, they come in, they look for the exits. you know, they look, who are they going to kill first if they have to get out of there? I mean, that's not what that's taking it to an extreme. But the point is, you're reading the person. And by the time they sit down, if they're gullible enough and they're vulnerable enough, you can zone right in on that and start to tell them things about themselves that they're like, there's no way in the world the psychic could have known that. I love that phrase. That's one
Mhm.
of my favorites. That's probably going to be the title of my next book is there's no way the psychic could have known that. And I'm here to say, oh, yes, there is. Okay. So cold reading is been around for, I don't know, millennia. Uh, it's just going with your gut level, your intuition, and making bold statements as if they're facts. And since you're in the power position, even if you're wrong, the sitter will try and adjust it and connect the dots for you. So you're already, even if you're wrong, you can be right. So that's cold reading. Many books written about it.
Hot reading, of course, is what? Google?
Oh, that's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. Hot reading is what we're in the midst of stinging psychics right now. We have a group called Guerrilla Skeptics, and had a write up in New York Times Magazine. I'm not going to mention the psychic's name, but we yeah, what they do is they search your social media. Once they have your name, you go to Wikipedia, not Wikipedia. Well, you could go there.
Yeah.
You go to Facebook. You go to Foursquare, any of these social media apps, and you put it in. So the deal is, most of these big time mediums, the lowest of the low, they work with two or 300 people at a time. So, and when you buy your ticket to see them, you're using your credit card. You're not paying them cash like in a carnival. So once they have your credit card and you're assigned a seat number, uh, how hard is it to spend 10 or 15 minutes? We do it all the time in our show that we do where we teach this. So I just simply go into your files and I try to go back a bit. I don't take stuff that you might remember, but I look at things that are in your past on your Facebook, or I mean, we have an obituary file too. You can look up when your father died, or I mean, information is out there. So then suddenly when I'm walking through the crowd, I say, I'm picking up baby clothes. Why am I picking up baby clothes, The rest of the audience doesn't know. They're not aware of that. But the person sitting there, and this happened at Teresa Caputo's show that I did. I worked with Inside Edition, and that's what she said. She said to this person, "Why am I picking up baby clothes?" And it was great because the woman said, "Wow, that's crazy. I just put pictures of baby clothes up on Facebook." Boom.
You'd think she would have put those things together,
No,
right?
and even though they're right in their face, they don't put it together because they want to believe they paid their money for a ticket, sometimes a lot of money to sit down in the front. And of course, that's where most of the readings are done because they want your money. They don't care about the cheap seats. So hot reading is very, very powerful because if you have 4 or 5 people in an audience of 200 people and you nail something, this person that we've been working on, and again, if you want to read the New York Times article, it is called, let me see if my conscience can tell me, what was it called again? Secrets of the Celebrity Psychics, New York Times Magazine. It details the whole operation. And if you want to go to my website, www.themarkedward.com, there's a video that breaks it all down. So hot reading is the preferred method today, unless you've made it. If you're somebody who's really gotten to the top and you already have a TV show and you're set, they get lazy. They don't need hits. They just fall back on cold reading. But
Interesting.
if you're on the ascendant, if you're trying to make it and get a TV show or prove to people that you're real, then you pepper the audience with a couple of really powerful hot readings, and it is really amazing to see the reaction on the audience. I actually love it. I mean, I love the artifice of it, but I hate what it does to people and
Hmm.
the manipulation because it's a magic trick. And in mentalism, it's called pre-show. Pre-show means everything is set before you even walk on. And when you walk on, you just have a blast with it. And you're not always right. Sometimes you're wrong. That's the way to entertain people. But nowadays, it's go for the jugular. You want somebody to start crying and break down, which to me is not entertainment. And that's where I draw the line. It's like, that's not entertaining to tell somebody their murdered daughter or their missing daughter is dead when they later on they're found alive. That kind of stuff is okay. I'll get off my soapbox.
No,
Is
it
that did
makes
that?
sense. I'm with you on that. I mean, you hear these stories of psychics saying like, "Your son is still alive." Ooh, but he's in a very dark place, and it's like you just then they find that the kid had been dead for 10 years, but meanwhile, this psychic's saying that they're being
Yeah,
trafficked.
they find him like a block away from the house.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm laughing, but Sylvia Brown was a master at being wrong. She was never right. And she could have been a comedian, a psychic comedian. She would have had a better career because some of the things that she said and did ruined people's lives. One woman who thought her daughter was dead basically died of a broken heart, they say. I mean, she you can't prove that, but then the daughter was found in Cleveland. I don't know if you remember that story. She
No, I
was
don't. That's
she was
horrible.
yeah, she was being held captive by one of these guys that, hold somebody in a room.
Ugh,
Amanda Berry was her name.
that's terrible. That's awful.
Well, that's
I
what
didn't.
goes on
Yeah.
24/7. These people crank this shit out. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Crank it out day and night. They have no conscience. They're sociopathic, so they don't give
Yeah.
it a second thought.
So tell me, you mentioned before mentalism. What is that exactly? Is that like a superset that includes cold reading, hot reading, and fake psychic performance?
Not necessarily. I mean, you have to dig pretty deep to get to that level. Basically, mentalism is a branch of magic, which is where you're saying you can do these things, you have these powers, you can see the future, you can read a person's mind, you can move an object with your mind. It's a totally different set of values than standard magic. Standard, you're not wearing a tuxedo, you're not pulling a rabbit out of a hat. You're wearing usually tweeds and you want to look very professorial, at least I did. So mentalism is this I think it's a superlative branch of deception and magic because people want to believe in it. You know, if I take a green handkerchief and I put it in here like this, and then it comes out red over here, and I show my hand empty, clever, but it has no reason to happen. People will applaud very politely, and you're a magician. But if you tell somebody about uh, the street they lived on and grew up on when they were 5 years old, that's a different kind of illusion. And those are two real extremes, but mentalism, once you understand it and you can purify it, because you kind of go through these stages. I started with standard magic, and I did that for many, many years. And then I slowly got into this idea because I didn't understand what mentalism was either. I started studying it. I was lucky to have some really good teachers. Thank you, teachers out there who taught me. And they said, that's kid stuff. That's for, if you want to do kid shows, fine. But if you want to make real money, you got to move into this area where people aren't sure whether it was a trick or not. See,
Yeah.
that's the difference. It's if you play it in character, it can be very convincing. If you don't do a disclaimer and you just say, "Ah, this stuff just happens to me," like Uri Geller does. I can't control it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Hmm.
Then you're in a different category. And for me, I discovered that uh, it was much more satisfying on a personal level because I was able to get more into people's minds and deal with them and talk to them instead of just saying, "Hey, I fooled you." And also, I learned this from Uri Geller is that if you use mentalism as a vehicle, you can suggest or convince to the person in the audience that you're empowering them. That's a difference to me.
Okay.
You're not telling them, "Hey, I'm a magician. I'm really cool. I fooled you." You're saying, "You can do this. Just focus with me. Focus on that word. Focus on that number." So they go away feeling not only entertained, that's key, but they also feel like, hey, I made this happen.
Uri
Okay.
Geller is. Can you explain briefly who that is? Because I don't have a super positive impression of a guy like that. Right.
Most people don't. Well, I can't put the guy down, and I'll tell you why. He's a friend of mine, a dubious friend of mine, uh, because again, I'm interested in the artifice of what he's doing and
Hmm.
why he's doing it. I'm not going to judge. I mean, he says he's real,
Right.
okay? And he's a magician and he knows it and I know it and Randy knows it if you know who Amazing
James Randy,
Randy
the
is.
amazing Randy, who also
Yeah, I mean,
busts these guys. Yeah.
yeah, we all know that he's a charlatan, but he's a charming, convincing, persuasive performer. If you've ever seen him work,
Yes.
you have?
Yeah, and on not in person, but on in programs and things, and it is amazing. I mean, he's the guy who
Oh,
can
in person he is I mean, I would
next
rather
level.
see yeah, he's the next level. I would rather see Uri work a room than any magician I can think of because he he has this charisma. It's dangerous, okay? No doubt it is dangerous and he's not what I would call uh trustworthy.
Hmm.
I would never loan him any money or anything like that. But as a performer, I have learned a lot from him because if you want to create this believability, it's not about the trick or the effect. It's about the other person, just like in a cold reading, and how they react and convince themselves that it's real. So a lot of skeptics, I mean, I'm in the skeptic movement and he's like the evil genius.
Hmm. The Lex Luthor.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the whole history of James Randi and Uri Geller is you could write books and books on it, and books have been written on it. So it's I don't really care. I think if this person can teach me a technique, uh, I don't necessarily have to use it, but I, as a performer, can be amused and entertained by it because it shows how vulnerable people are. You
The
know.
cold reading thing really isn't. It's amazing, but it's so common and it is very tricky. A long time ago, and I've told this story on the show before. There was a kid who said, "Hey, I know you debunk a lot of this stuff and you don't believe in any of this woo woo stuff, but I went to a fair at my university and they had a psychic and the things she told me were absolutely amazing." And I said, "Okay, well, I've never met you in real life." This is via like email or something like that years ago. I said, "I've never met you in real life," but his name was Rajan Patel. And
Yeah.
he worked for a graphic design firm. I saw that in his email signature. And I said, "Bear with me, see if I also have psychic powers. Your parents really wanted you to go into one of the STEM or hard sciences, maybe engineering, maybe become a doctor. They're a little disappointed that you decided to follow your artistic talents and go into graphic design. You probably have siblings that actually did go into the hard sciences or maybe law, and they're more successful than you. And your parents, especially your mom, is often comparing you to your brother or sister." And he goes, "Oh my God, you nailed it." And I said, "I nailed every Indian graphic designer who didn't become a doctor." And he went, "Yeah, I think you got me. My sister's a doctor and I hear about it all the time." I was like, this is so easy. I've never met this guy. But the idea here is I just picked out a couple of very general facts that I would have said to literally any of just knowing a few Indian people in law school. It was like such a common refrain to hear from them how their culture works, and in general. I mean, this little tidbit about their culture, I should say, that it was so easy for me to say that. And he thought, "How do you know these things? It's amazing." And I
Right.
said, "Your email signature plus literally every Indian family in America
And you
ever."
also said in general, which
Sure.
is, we are more alike than we are different. That's a famous quote. I mean, there's a method I used to use if I was at a big party or a big show where I was dealing with, you know, dozens and dozens of people. You can't give the same reading over and over and over
Hmm.
because if people compare notes, you are dead. You can't. So you have to learn how to do a little dance and improvise. And one of the techniques I learned from one of my teachers is if you run out of material, you just start talking about yourself and what's going on in your life, but you make it about their life. And people be like, "Damn, you nailed that right on the head," and they don't know that you're just accessing information that's going on in your life. Like, yeah, you had some dental problems a couple of months ago, and if you're wrong, it doesn't matter. You just keep going. You just keep course correcting based on their reaction, the little muscles in their face, and when they go like this, you're not so close. When they're going like this, you just stay on that. And people don't realize they're giving you these body language things that are going on, and that's why later they will say, "There's no way in the world he could have known that." Well,
Right. So it's you. We don't have a poker face. We go in there with the negative or positive or open or closed or sort of confirmation non-verbally, and they feed off that. And also in the book, you had some pretty good examples where you would say things like, "I sense that there's some travel going on." No, not really. Well, I don't mean travel in the literal sense. I mean sort of what was it, like metaphorical travel. In fact,
no,
it could just
it
be
was distance.
distance.
I
Okay.
say they would say something about a person in their life, and I would say, "I'm feeling some distance here." And then I'd look at their face and I would say, "I'm not sure if it's physical distance or emotional distance." And then
Mm,
they would fill it in for me. "Oh, we're pretty far apart. He or she lives in Canada." So they
right.
don't they remember the hits and not the misses. So they were like, they'll tell their friend, it's like the telephone game. "He knew that I had a friend in Canada. I didn't know that. You told me that." And you have to be able to record that and retain it for later. So there's a lot of verbal deception that goes on. The verbal deception aspect is fantastic. And if you study with the right people, the verbal deception is the whole thing because It's a way of suggestion. Everything is suggestion. You suggest something and they go with it. They take the ball and run with it. Not always. Again, if you go in to visit one of these storefront psychics and you convince yourself to sit perfectly still and not ask a question and not make any facial or body reactions at all, you just sit like this, the reading is over. And they'll tell you that. They'll give you your money back. They'll say, everything's fine. I can't tell you anything. And I know because I've done this. So if you want to try it, but it's really hard to do.
Sure.
It sounds easy, but you can just go like that, or any sort of facial expression can be read by a good reader. So what you have to do is take a bunch of tranquilizers. I didn't do that, but
Yeah.
so that all your muscles are completely relaxed, and go in there, and right away, if you don't say, I need to know about my girlfriend, or I need to find out about a job, if you don't say anything, they're going to say, so what do you want to know? And if you just go, just
Shrug.
curious,
Yeah.
then they're gonna give you some really general thing like, well, I see everything's fine, and let's they saw you limp when you came in, I see something with your right leg. I mean, it's unbelievable, what you can get away with, or not get away with. And I've tested these people, so I know that they are literally it's something that's learned. Grandma knew it, great grandma knew it, and now they're training the daughter to do it. That's this case that we were just working on. It was a mother and daughter, and the mother was unbelievably what's the word I'm looking for, when you're really greedy and malicious, and really a nasty character.
Hmm.
The daughter, who is coming up into it, she was kind of okay. She hadn't gotten to that point where she really was desperate. So it's hard to paint with a broad brush, but
Yeah. So your Guerrilla Skeptics is essentially, what do you are you collecting evidence that they're defrauding people? Like what's the mission?
Well, the Guerrilla Skeptics is a group of people who are all over the world, and we're all connected. And what we do is, it's frustrating, because we got this thing in the New York Times where we nailed this guy red-handed. Did you read the New
I
York
did.
Times?
It was a while ago. This you
Yeah,
sent it to me a few months
but
back.
I
Yeah.
mean that should have finished this guy. But he's had two television series since then. One, but I thought there was two now. Yeah, he had one when we started, and now he's got another one, and
Unbelievable.
and he's got a Vegas show. And I mean, it's people don't want the truth. If you're watching this and you think this is wrong, do something. So our thing is we're doing something about it, but we're just trying to find the right person to listen to it
Hmm.
so it can reach the largest audience possible. Uh, we have another sting up our sleeve. It's called Operation Lima Bean. I can't really tell you that much about it, but I
Other
can
than the
tell
name.
other than the name. So when you hear Lima Bean, you'll think about it.
That's right.
So this is going to be the mother of all stings, and we've thought it through. We've got it all figured out. Everything is in place, but we're not just going to do it and preach to the choir. We want a major media, a 2020, or a what? 60 minutes, or I don't know. Something that is reaches out. Like when we did this New York Times thing, it reached how many? A million people? So
Sure,
a
at
lot of
least, right?
yeah, a lot of people read it, and we got an influx of people with offers for us. But the problem is the offers were not, they wanted to show both sides of the story. They wanted to show the psychic for 30 minutes and then give us 2 minutes.
Right.
And at the end they'd say, well, maybe it is real. It's like, we have decided we're not into that. If you have an idea for a show or a film or something, come to us, but we're not interested in showing both sides anymore because it's beyond that now, okay? That people are tired of being lied to. Look at what's going on in our country right now. So we're not going to show somebody and say, well, maybe it's real. We're
Mhm.
not investigating anymore. We are reaching out and exposing these people, which has been done. It's been done for decades, but it doesn't seem to make a dent in the media because they don't want to know the truth. They would rather have people, like Dr. Phil, or I don't know what shows. I don't watch television, but these shows where they support the psychic.
Yeah, it does everyone a disservice, and that's why on this show I'm always looking for what is true, scientific, because it's this is edutainment, but I don't want somebody to come on and trick everyone, and then I go, wow, maybe some people do have magical powers. I want the
Yeah.
magician to come on and go, this is a trick, and here is the trick, and possibly here's how the trick is done without it, divulging everything that they
Well, I
do.
like to tell people, if there was one person on this planet that had any of the powers that these people pretend to say they have, they would be the most dangerous person on the planet. They wouldn't be selling tickets for shows and walking around doing talk TV shows, bragging about what they see in the dead world. They would be locked up in a bunker somewhere with their brain wired up. And the
Hmm.
CIA or the NSA, they'd be looking at that very carefully. They would be a wanted person. They wouldn't be a celebrity. I
No.
mean, all you have to do is look at it with common sense, okay? I mean, they would be underground. And I know because when I was on the psychic line, I would have people call me who swore that they had these powers, but they were terrified. They didn't know what to do with them. They said, "I can't go outside. I can't look at people." It's like the Twilight Zone. A person would look at somebody in the face and know they were going to die. I mean,
Yeah, delusional.
that's it's not only delusional, but it's terrifying to that person.
Right.
And if you could hear people's thoughts and do these things that a mentalist pretends, use your head, folks. You know.
At the very least, I'd be investing, right?
That's right.
I
But
would
the
have bought
problem
Yahoo
is
in '96.
people are investing, but what they're investing in is just new psychic scam platforms because they know that's where the money is.
Right. Right.
They're
No, that
not.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
When you worked for the Psychic Friends Network, which just is such a throwback to my childhood with is it Dionne Warwick coming on and
yeah,
talking with her psychic
yeah.
friends, and then Miss Cleo pops up and sends you a voicemail about how she had a dream about you or whatever. Um, some of the calls you got were pretty terrifying. I mean, this woman, I think her name was Trish. She had her eye gouged out by her boyfriend. I mean, that was just like
Yeah,
horrifying.
yeah, true. Everything in my book, Psychic Blues, is true. I didn't elaborate it at all, and it's only the tip of the iceberg because how the book started to really get written was I was taking these calls and they were just absolutely horrific. Yeah, one person, she says, is my boyfriend going to take my furniture away? And I said, no, why would he do that? A lot of times I would just tell people the truth that I thought, I just
Sure.
thought things through for them. Why would he do that? Well, he gouged one of my eyes out. I said, what?
Unbelievable.
And she said, yeah, we got in a fight. I said, how did he do it? With his fingers. And I'm just like, so I said, then I'm getting into I had a list of 800 numbers. And if it was something that I felt was really in need of some serious professional help, I would try and massage it into the reading. And I would say, I see you getting some help. This is what I said to her. I see you going to a woman's shelter. And she was like, what's a woman's shelter? I'm like, I'm
Mm.
going to give you a phone number. You need to go there. And then she says, but I'll lose all the furniture. I'm like,
Oh
you
my
can
God.
get more furniture. You can't get another eye. I mean, this is true. This is a true story.
Unbelievable.
So
Yeah.
I said, so here, Here's a number. This is a women's shelter that's in your area. I want you to call them and go there right away, and you'll get some help. You can get your furniture eventually. Don't worry about it. I see lots of new furniture, you know. So I say, "Are you ready? I'm going to give you the number." And I hear click. She
Ugh.
hung up.
Oh. Ugh. That's got to take a toll on you psychologically after a while, right?
Yeah, that's why I wrote the book. Because day after day, night after night, it was not a cheery, people think that life of a psychic must be so wonderful, to see things and know things. It was a freaking nightmare. And every day brought another one of these stories that I couldn't believe was really happening. So I wrote them down and I said, okay, now we're starting to get some information for this book. So everything that you see in that book is true. It actually happened. And some of them are really funny. And that's why TV producers, have I got a show for you?
Yeah, no
You know?
kidding. No
You know,
kidding.
I mean, it would be so interesting to have a TV show that shows a psychic like maybe not quite as extreme as the gouged eye, but to see not only the psychic and the relationship with the sitter, but also, you know, show on television in a dramatic fashion what happens when the sitter leaves and what their life is like after that. Do they listen to the psychic? Do they ignore it? It's human nature, and it's really, to me, it's a whole lot more interesting than, Little House on the Prairie. I mean, you could you could go to any major city and stage a different place anyway. I'm pitching now. I'm
No,
sorry.
it's good. Hey, look, I love it. I love it. I want to hear a little bit about how you keep or you would have to keep people on the phone line, right? I mean, a lot of these psychic lines, they got in trouble because I mean, they literally sent threats to people, right? Or they would say
Oh
like,
yeah.
I remember I mentioned the Miss Cleo thing because when I was in law school, we studied something about how the prosecution alleged or asserted, not alleged. I mean, I think they proved this quite easily that the Miss Cleo owners, I mean, it's not her, she was an actress, but they would call using their auto dialer and leave a voicemail that said, Miss Cleo had a dream about you. It's very urgent. You're in danger. And
Call right away.
that was illegal, or at
Yeah.
least it's predatory to the point of crossing the line. And that was one of many things they got in trouble
Oh
for
yeah.
doing.
Well, I didn't work for Miss Cleo, but I can give you there's an example in my book where we were basically paid nothing. The company got 3.99 a minute. We got 25 cents a minute,
Hmm.
which is not a great great
That's not a
gig.
great split. The phone
Yeah.
company and the company that ran the
Yeah.
psychics was clearly
So
printing
so
money.
but we got if we were able to tell a person, look, we have this free psychic magazine that we'll be happy to send to you, but you have to give me your address and your birth date so we can do work with your horoscope, right?
Right.
So we got an extra quarter per reading. At the end of the week, we'd have a stack about this thick of addresses. We forward them to the Psychic Friends Network. We didn't know what they were going to do with them, but I think
This is like an inch thick stack of, for people not watching but listening, that's like an inch thick stack of what, index cards?
no, they were more like yellow pads, only they were
Post-it
printed
notes.
up by the company and sent to us by the bale, and we were
Gotcha.
we were encouraged to get as many as we could, so it helped us make a little more money. But when I found out the kind of things they were doing with them, and here's the great example, they would cull through them and they would find, using the birth dates, people that were probably over 60 or 70 years old.
Hmm.
And then they had a specially printed card that they would send out. And it would have my extension number on it, which really pissed me off. It would say, your psychic, extension 7, whatever it was,
Hmm.
um, feels that you are in imminent danger. You need to call him right away, him or her right away. They have a special message for you, okay? Or they would say a special birthday message. But the one that got me was this little old lady calls me up and she says, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" I'm like, "I don't know. What do you mean?" She says, I got a postcard from the Psychic Friends Network. It says I'm in danger and to call you right away.
And of course, they didn't even give you a heads up. So now you have to
No.
tell this woman that she's in some sort of. Now you're on the hook. I mean, what do you
No.
do? What do you
I
even
told
do
her, I
then?
said, that's bullshit. This is a marketing ploy. There's nothing wrong. This is what they use to get you to call back. I would tell them the truth.
Oh wow, good for you.
Yeah, I tell them the truth. But most of the time, well, the one time I'm talking about, the lady says, well, you're not helping me at all. And she hung up. So she just called back and talked to somebody else who gave her bad news.
Oh God, that's
Yeah. I mean, and
horrifying.
that's just one example of the entire charade that went on that was just, and I mean, I like to say I like the artifice of it and I'm interested in the techniques, but that's, again, you use the term, a whole other level of manipulation. And they'd send you a birthday. They'd say, we'll give you a free 3-minute reading for happy birthday, you know. But the system was set up so that a good part of that first 3 minutes was just getting to the psychic. You know,
God.
there'd be an advertisement, there'd be some music, there'd be, psychic friends, blah, blah, blah. They talk about themselves. So by the time you checked in with the psychic, the clock was running and you ended up paying.
That's unbelievable. So the extension you almost gave us, I take it that's something you'll never forget because you used it for so long.
Oh, I use it thousands of, well, not thousands, probably. I can't even guess, but yeah, I use it a lot. That was your key to open the door, and they sent you printed business cards you could hand out and everything.
So pre-show, you mentioned that before. This is what you do to investigate, but also I would imagine small talk where you get information about people and then use it later. I mean, not on the phone, but during a magic show. I've gone to the Mentalist thing and he's having a drink before the show with the audience and he's chatting with people and he's probably listening to what other people are talking about and things like that.
Well, I have my girlfriend sitting right here who many times when I was at the Magic Castle, she would be out in the bar or out where people are waiting to come in, and she would be listening very carefully, and I would be backstage getting ready to go on, and she would text me. She would say, the couple, she has a blue dress, he has a red shirt on, and they just came back from the Bahamas,
Oh, right. And they don't know that your girlfriend overheard them telling the other people in line that they
Yeah,
were.
and also the funny thing is it goes right over their head when it happens. And again, the rest of the audience doesn't know anything about
Mhm.
that, so it sounds pretty fantastic. And it's surprising that most of the time the people who are the ones that you just rung into the con, they don't remember saying anything either. We've never had anybody say, "I was talking about that out in the lobby,"
Yeah.
because it's just chit chat and they're drinking and
The cold reading stuff is
it's a
fascinating.
wonderful world.
Yeah.
What's that?
I was going to say the cold reading stuff is really, really fascinating. I mean, some of the lines these weren't family heirloom earrings, were they?
Yeah,
When somebody
yeah.
loses something, because if they say
Yeah.
no, then you go, okay, well, like I said, they weren't. And if they say yes,
That's called verbal deception. And it if you understand it, it's goes all through the world. I mean, a used car salesman, a shoe salesman, whatever it is, it's all part of the Dale Carnegie course of salesmanship. If you remember
yeah.
that, but it's put to our use as mentalists, and it's pretty effective. I mean, because you have to be rapid fire so much that people don't remember what you just said. You're on to the next thing. You keep punching and punching and punching, like Houdini when he would do an incredible magic effect. People would try and stop and figure it out during the show, and then he'd hit him again with something else, and again and again, and finally people just said, "He's the greatest."
Hmm.
They give up. People can remember maybe 2 or 3 things at one time, and after that they are lost. And we count on that to further things along. That's why if you ever get a reading and you can record it, please do record it because when you play it back, you'll be amazed at the things that you thought were really accurate, but they're not at all. They're just that they were they were in succession and they were course correcting towards a specific goal. But along the way, there's like, yeah, that ring you lost, it wasn't an antique, was it? Oh, I didn't think so, you know.
Right. Yeah. No, it
But
wasn't. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was, but it was important to you.
yes, it was. And then you say, I thought so. You can't be wrong. And those are the things I really like. You know, you can call me a charlatan, you can call me a trickster, whatever you want, but this we're in the middle, we're in the dawn of the con right now, or the golden age of the con, and it's out of control. So we have to start with the little goofy magic tricks to be able to understand how we are being manipulated. And it may be too late, but we can try. And that's why our group tries to make people aware of this so they can think of it as science. All magic is science. And whether it's using words or objects or whatever, it's all science. And a lot of people have lost the idea about that. Sad, really, but if that's the way it's going to go, at least I tried.
the the cold reading techniques, I keep going back to this because they are so fascinating. Phrasing something like, well, this might not make any sense, but, and then you say something, and if it doesn't make any sense, well, like you said, it might not make any sense, but then people start to stretch, like, this might not make any sense, but I see tortilla chips. I don't know, I'm looking around my office. I see tortilla chips. Well, I ate that yesterday. It does make sense.
Right.
I'm just like grasping at anything, any tenuous connection.
Yeah, well, that's what the audience pays for the ability to do, and particularly it's called the law of large numbers, which I've seen demonstrated hundreds of times, where there's an audience of 200 or 300 people, and yeah, somebody says something like, somebody very recently just gagged on a tortilla chip, and then they say, does that mean anything to anybody? They don't pick somebody out in particular. They don't go to this person and say, you gagged on a tortilla chip yesterday, didn't you? Now that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, it would,
But
yeah.
instead, it's like a net that is thrown out, and then people are like looking around. A couple raise their hand, a few more. Well, yeah, I didn't really gag on it, but I had some bad rancid potato chips. I mean, it's just so the law of large numbers helps move the whole game along. If you tried that in a room of 10 people, people would just laugh at you. Or if
Right.
you walked up to somebody on the street corner and said, you gagged on a Dorito chip yesterday, didn't you? They would just say, get away from me,
Mm-hmm.
But since we give this sort of bullshit a platform, it's got all this gloss around it and all the fancy lights and the music.
I love the way that the details are used as well. For example, I think you gave this example in the book. If you heard someone lives 200 miles away, you know that they probably didn't fly in because it's a little bit, it's hard to fly 200 miles.
Yeah.
So it's a long drive. So they probably had a long drive. Then you can make some comment about their car or, oh, I sense like maybe your lower back or your back's a little bit sore. Were you sitting for a long time? Oh my God.
Here, let me teach you something right now.
Do it. Yeah.
The law in my world is never ask a question. See, because you asked a question, because when you ask a question, you leave the possibility open for that person to say, no, I didn't.
Okay. You were sitting for a long time is what I would
you
do.
say, you were sitting for a long time, your back has been giving you some trouble. So if we look at the standard psychic today that we see on television, all they do is ask questions. They just ask for verification on everything they say. And I've looked at some of the great clairvoyants, so-called clairvoyants in history, and how they made their living was making bold statements as if they're facts.
Mm-hmm.
And then you leave it up to everybody in the audience to connect the dots. It's not up to you to ask questions. You're supposed to know. You're the freaking psychic. You're not supposed to ask somebody, did you just travel somewhere? Just say it. And if you're wrong and you see them go, move to another person.
That's interesting. There's a lot of different types of, well, you live in the same area as me in the Bay Area. There's a lot of things that don't call themselves psychic, or mentalism.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
they are. I mean, there's a psychic on my block that you'll love this. There was a tree that had fallen on one of their vehicles, and I thought, oh, well, you're not very good at your job, are you?
Yeah, right.
While it was parked in the driveway, you should have seen that coming. There was my mother-in-law. I'm married to a Asian woman whose family is from Taiwan. So they send me often. They'll send me to like the foot reflexologist. Just try it. Just try it. Just try it. And I'm like, okay, but I'm pretty sure this is crap. But I don't want to be a jerk. And my mother-in-law paid for it, so I'm not going to tell her it's a bunch of garbage. So I go in there, and she's massaging my foot and saying, "Ooh, you get headaches. You get headaches." And I'm going, no. And she goes, "Yeah, but you have knee pain. Maybe it's knee pain, huh?" And I go, "No." And but it's like it kind of could be related to the foot, like the knee pain or the foot pain. And I do have very flat feet.
How many people don't have pains
Headaches.
in their feet and headaches?
Or knee pain. I'm 40.
Yeah.
Of course I have knee pain. It's called being 40.
And it's going to get worse too, trust me.
Yeah. But I mean, it was just, and on flat feet, oh, do you have lower back pain? Well, literally everyone with flat feet is sort of like medically indicated to have lower back pain. And then she'd go up my calf and go, oh, no, you have this other thing. You have
there. See, now she made a statement.
Yeah.
If she's asking you.
Well, I said no, and I think she went, oh, they told me not to do that in fake reflexology school, but I didn't listen.
That's right. Well, that's how you learn, you learn because when people say no, then you're losing the connection that you have. You're supposed to know. Again, in reflexology, that they're not really considered to be a spirit guide or anything. So they can get away with asking questions because they're acting like a doctor. Yeah, they're acting like a doctor. But if it would have been me, I would have just made those statements. Actually, if it would have been me, I would have used a very clever trick I know.
Okay. Continue.
To convince the person that I knew exactly where the pain was coming from before they told me what it was.
What's the trick?
I'm not going to share it. It's too good. It's using a method that's used by mentalists all the time. And it's something I learned from one of my teachers, who was not the most scrupulous person in the world. But that's why I stay away from health or legal questions.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Don't even go there. But there is a method where I can tell you the method. You have the person lie down flat on a table, and you got to have a candle lit, and all the hoopla's got to be going. And then you say, I don't want you to tell me anything about your problem, but I have this card, and you have like an index card, and it's got a picture of a body, somebody laying back with their arms out, and you run your hands over their body, and take your time. They're paying for it, so you take your time and you go over their body. Then you take a pencil and you make a little notation on the card, and you put the card down, right? And then, or actually, you can put it underneath the person, and you say, "All right, now I've written down what I think your problem is, but instead of just telling you what it is, you might think I looked at your medical records or something. Tell me, and then I will show you that I knew beforehand what it was." So they say, "Yeah, I've got a real problem with my left shoulder." You take the card, you pick it up, you show it to them, and there's an X on their left shoulder.
Interesting. So you have a stack of cards with X's all over different parts of the body?
No, I'm not going to tell. I cannot reveal my secrets. That's not right. And
I'm not a
also, and the
magician.
reason why is because it's like taking food off a magician's or a mentalist's table. So
Yeah.
that was invented by somebody who shared it with me, and I used it maybe. I use it once or twice to demonstrate to skeptics how easy it is. I mean, that person, of course, the card has your name and address and how much
Yeah.
you charge per hour, and they take it with them and they go home to their wife or their husband. They say, "Look, he knew before I told, he didn't even touch me, and he knew that my shoulder was bothering me."
That's important. The reason I'm going over all of this is because when people write in, they go, yeah, but you don't understand. There was a time where this person knew where my pain was before it even happened. And I want to demonstrate through this conversation that anything that you think looks like somebody being psychic is 90% fake and 10% potentially just a coincidence that they got right that one time that makes you think
No,
that they're
it's not even
psychic?
10%
Not even
coincidence.
10%?
No, because when somebody's got you lying down on a massage table, they can't afford to spend that time with you and be wrong.
Right.
Because
That makes sense.
if they're wrong, then they lose you, the customer, the client, the sitter, whatever. And they also risk that person going out and saying that guy was terrible. He wasn't even close, you know. You can guess, you can guess, a lot of psychics do, and they say, "Oh, well, sometimes my powers don't work and I
Sure.
just, but when you're a mentalist, you got to be right. You can't go on stage and do something like this and then be wrong. People are like, boo, this guy's not entertaining at all. But there's a very fine line between the two worlds. And that's my job, is to look for the people who are using some of these clever techniques and show what they're doing to the right people at the right time. I'm not saying you're not worthy, but
No, no, I
it's
got
like
you.
I'm saving it for the guys that will I don't know. It's just pick your battles, I guess is what I'm saying.
I wanted to put a cap on the last thing. You'd mentioned you don't want to ask questions, you want to tell people things because when I said no, I don't get headaches to this reflexologist, or no, I don't have knee pain, or no, I don't
Right.
have back pain, or
She's
whatever it
doing
was.
a diagnostic thing. It's totally
Right.
different.
It's different, but also you lose the connection, and you'd mentioned that before. You lose the connection with the mark, the potential victim, right? Because if someone says, "Oh, you just lost a puppy," and I go, "Nope, don't have a dog," then now I'm thinking you're a yutz, not,
That's
"Oh,
right.
okay, you get some right, you lose some."
That's
I'm
right.
thinking you just made that up.
I'm gonna put my medical health in your hands. I don't think so. See? So that's why medical things are very tricky. Although one of the psychics we're working on,
Hmm.
she's pretty clever, because what she does is she doesn't make the claim to be a medical psychic, but she is in touch with and channels a doctor. And
A dead doctor.
the doctor tells her what he sees, which is kind of brilliant in a way, but these people have got to go, unless they can prove it to me. I'll change my whole stance overnight. I will support you. We will change the entire world. We will turn science on its head. You know what I mean? Let's do this. But it never happens. It
Yeah,
just
of
keeps
course.
rolling and rolling and rolling downhill. In my book Total Darkness, which is available at my website, uh, there's a chapter called The Clown in the Graveyard. Okay. And this is a story that personally to me kind of made me stop and wonder, because I should know better. And yet, here we go, stuff happens. So I mentioned to you about the law of large numbers.
Hmm.
The bigger the audience, the easier it is to throw something out, no matter how fantastic it is. And one or two people will raise their hands, some a little slower than others, because they're actually thinking about it as their hand goes up. And then you just pick on one of those people and you work with them. So one night I was at Dragon Con, and it was wall to wall, or probably like 300 people in this room.
What's Dragon Con?
Dragon Con is a annual comic book convention in
Okay.
Atlanta. It's thousands and thousands and thousands of people. How many people were there? 80,000 people last time.
Wow, that's insane.
So smartly, they have what is called a skeptic track, which is one section of one building, which is skeptics lectures. So they put out that there was going to be a psychic entertainer. That's how you get away with
Hmm.
getting sued. That was me.
Hmm.
So I'm working this room, and it's not always easy. If you're on for an hour, you can be pretty red hot for the first 40 minutes, but the last 15 minutes, sometimes you can run out of energy or material. You're just
Hmm.
like drained, basically, depending on the audience. So everything had gone really well. And what I do when I do the skeptic track or any other skeptic show is I play the first 50 minutes in character. I don't tell what I've done. And there's a lot of hot reads, there's cold reads, everything's mixed together, you know. But by 50 minutes, people are like their mouths are hanging open and they have no idea what I've just done. So I'm at the fifth, like 45-minute point, and I'm pretty much out of material. So every once in a while, what I will do is I will just throw something out there, no matter how outrageous it may seem. I just do it and see if anybody makes a connection. It's kind of a thing I do for myself
Mm-hmm.
out of boredom, you know? So a couple of nights before that, I had watched a movie called The Iron Rose, which is a Italian giallo film, you know, horror movie. And there's a scene in it where these kids are in this graveyard and they see this clown. He's putting flowers. He's dressed as a clown and he's putting flowers on the grave. So I stopped in the middle of what I was saying and I said, I'm seeing a clown in a graveyard. And the clown knows this person who's in this room and he calls you, what was it? Shirley. And then I said the classic line that mentalists and mediums do. I said, does that mean anything to anybody? Not expecting to get any response at all. A woman's hand goes up in the middle of the room. And I'm like, really? You know? And she stands up and she says, how did you know that? There's no way in the world you could know that. She's really agitated. And I said, and I'm like, oh shit. You know? And I said, I said, oh, he's no, but he calls you, he used to call you Shirley, but your real name is, oh yeah, she says, he used to call me Shirley, but my real name is Stephanie or something. So I mean,
Wow.
how the hell, you know? So here I am about to do my reveal for the Skeptics show, and I've just had one of the most incredible hits of my life. And I'm going to try to explain this to this woman. And she is just beside herself. She's like, I thought I was going to throw up for a minute there. How there's no way you could know that. And everyone around her is like, whoa, whoa. It really caused quite a disturbance. So now I get to the end of my act and I'm supposed to explain, I did a hot read here, I did a cold read here. But she's still like raising her hand and go, I still don't know how you knew that about me. She would not let go of it. And it was one of those moments. So now she could have been playing me off. She could have been an actress. I don't know what her deal was. It, yeah, it was the randomness of large numbers, and there's no other excuse for it. I can't try and explain it. But it was pretty amazing because it pretty much took my whole skeptical thing and threw it out the window. So it's kind of like he is protesting too much when really he's got the gift, you know.
I was just going to say, there's going to be people right now who go, he just doesn't realize he's
I
psychic.
know, and I've heard that my whole career. Oh, poor Mark, he really is clairvoyant. He just doesn't understand it, and he doesn't want to do it because it's frightening to him. No, it was a coincidence, and that is all. Otherwise, this would be happening a whole lot more,
Yeah.
I would think. And it wouldn't be just about a clown in a graveyard. There'd be all sorts of things. So, yeah, right up until the end, the show closed. She comes running up to the stage. You got to explain to me how you did that. So, fortunately, there were some other skeptics around, and they were kind of bolstering my point of view and saying, it was just a coincidence. Don't
Mm-hmm.
take it seriously. But yeah, she did make it in her brain. But the point is that it was pretty amazing. And
Yeah, you still
since
got clown with flowers on the grave. I mean, that.
yeah, and since I was confused about it too, that was really not the way things are supposed to go. So these sort of things happen. I'm not saying I'm a believer, but I will say when people connect the dots, you just don't know where you're going. You got to be careful. That's why there is a responsibility, however small, when you are doing this sort of stuff for fun. And you can trip yourself right into a grave full of flowers and a clown. Anyway, true story.
I should have asked for this in the beginning, probably, but you know a little bit about me. You probably could have Googled me before, I guess. So there's a little bit of hot reading. What if I were to just calling you right now?
Yeah.
What would you cold read about me to sort of quote unquote prove that you're psychic? If I call psychic friend 1-900, I guess bullshit.
Are you asking me to do a reading?
Are you able to do that kind of thing? I mean, we're just basically on Skype. Yeah, I figured. I didn't know if you had some sort of like block where you're like, I can't do it. It's against my moral code now. I don't know.
No. My moral code is to go after people. I mean, if you go to a Halloween party and you get a tarot card reading, that's a
Fine.
whole lot different than saying, your child that's missing has been decapitated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just a whole world of. So let me try and focus in a little bit on you. First thing that comes to my mind is something about glass, thick glass. The second thing is I get this feeling that right now you are trying to do way too many things at the same time. And it is hard to prioritize right now because all of those things are very important. But I'm going to say that you're going to have your greatest strength when you focus in on what really is going to take you to your next step in whatever it is the most important thing in your life. So, lot of people. I'm sorry. Oh, did you get that?
I didn't hear what she said.
No, she was just saying I need to focus a little more.
Oh, okay.
It's
I
hard to
mean,
do. It's hard to do on this kind of level. It'd be better if you were right here, but uh, your young son is a great joy in your life. I feel like he's going to end up doing something very creative if he isn't already. In other words, if he likes to doodle or draw or something like that, give him lots of crayons and paints and let him really explore that because that seems like a really a strong strength. Creative aspects are really important, especially around December and January of this year, or end of this year, beginning of the new year. Also, there is some decorating projects or things that are going on that are taking a little longer than you thought. Be patient. There seems to be one person who is more of a problem than the others on the crew or something like that, or something's not moving as fast as you would like it to. You're a very results oriented person. When you put your energy into something, you expect to see results, and when you don't see results, you get impatient. So that's the only thing I can
yeah.
tell you to watch out for. So how did I do?
I mean, you nailed it, right? So knowing full well that this is all a trick. So the thick glass, if that first thing's kind of a stretch, but you know that I do this
Right
from
here.
home. I'm in a recording studio. Oh, nice. That was just some initial inspiration. You had
I'm
this
just
thing
like
laying on your
looking
desk.
around going, what can I latch on to?
I
So
see. So
so
for those
thick
of you,
glass, where is it?
so just for those of you who are listening instead of watching, you picked up Mark picked up a paperweight, which was like one of those thick glass, sort of etched, laser cut paperweights. It's thick glass. So I'm at home, but I'm using a teleprompter in front of me, which has a camera behind it. So that's why I'm able to look directly at the screen, and that's made out of glass. Now, is it thick? I don't know, but I'm looking at glass all day, so of course it is. I work
There
on
you
the
go.
computer. So
That
there's
would
the
be
thick glass.
called a hit in most cases.
Yeah, I would say that was a good hit. I mean, I had to stretch a little bit for it, like thick glass. I don't know, but I am looking at you on glass right now, and it's not a screen. So
Okay.
that's interesting. It's a glass mirror. And then the other thing, wait, what was the one right after that? Thick glass.
I don't
There was
know.
there was the
Whatever jumps out at you as a hit, just go with it.
right. So the next thing was probably some business thing that I think you also got that was pretty much everyone. But the kid being creative, yeah, he's one. We had him finger painting the other day. So and I have a creative job, if you can call it that, doing this kind of show. So yeah, oh great, my kid's going to be creative. That's good news. We had him finger painting the other day.
Yeah.
So there's another hit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm impatient and things aren't moving as fast as I want them to. Well, I'm a business owner. We're probably all like this, but
Yeah, but
yes, I'm
what's the
always
decorating?
impatient.
What's the decorating thing?
Oh God, that I don't know if that was anything.
There's no construction or something that's not
There
moving?
is construction, but it's next door. It's moving fine.
Oh,
There is
okay.
construction next door. Yeah, there is construction right next door.
That's why I said
Probably,
neighbors that maybe are a little bit annoying right now or something.
yeah. No, I didn't even honestly. That went in one ear and out the other, which as things do. But yeah, we do have construction next door, and so that makes total sense that there would be either neighbors that are not. No, now that I think about it, there is a neighbor that lights off fireworks every single night, and he's really annoying. So there you go.
Sometimes people have to go home and think about it, and then they continue to make the connections depending on how skeptical they are. So, Anyway, that's
And
how it
yeah.
goes.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I totally see why people get done in by this when they're not aware of how generalities apply to large groups of people or how generalities apply to everyone
Hmm.
across the board. Because there were other things that you said during that cold read that had to do with business, that had to do with, oh, my team. There was someone on my team that wasn't performing well. There's nobody on my team that's not performing well that comes to mind, but I forgot about it except for right now where I'm purposely trying to remember everything to illustrate that you didn't get everything right, because otherwise people will go, Mark's psychic and Jordan's just in denial.
Or I could say he's somebody you need to watch for. Maybe it's not
Hmm.
happening right now, but you know.
Somebody I need to watch for. Yeah. Yeah. I had a woman stop me, this is years ago now, and said, how old are you? And I said, 24. And she said, when you're 26, something important, very important in your life is going to happen.
And then she
And
walked away.
we were at a restaurant in Egypt and she just was at the table next to me. So she was probably like, oh, Americans I can talk to.
She didn't give you her business card.
No,
What
she
a
was,
missed opportunity,
I know. I would have called her in 2 years and said, this is the year that was just like all the other years so
Yeah,
far.
right.
Yeah. So how do we catch these people in closing here? How do we kind of catch these people in the act? Like all psychics are fake, but what do we look for to catch them in the act in real time if they're trying to trick us, or more likely someone we know into believing that they are real? What would you say to that?
Well, it would. I mean, I'm a critical thinker, rational thinker. It's a case by case thing. That's why you read my book. At the end
Yeah.
it wasn't very conclusive because uh, finding someone who you can talk to who will listen to you, because that's all a psychic does is listen and then figure out what their plan is on how they're going to manipulate that. Uh, you know, I don't really see anything wrong with two people talking to each other.
Hmm.
If you find someone who, the less, that's why the book is called Psychic Blues, because I really think that people have lost the ability to just talk to each other. Strangers talking to each other. Well, now we have to wear a mask, so now it's even worse. So how do you tell? I think you have to listen to your own intuition. And I know that sounds wooish, but
Hmm.
we all have an intuition. It's the thing that says, you see a dark alley and you say, I think I'm going to go around the long way. I don't want to go down that alley. Most
Hmm.
people do not listen to that voice. They say, to hell with it, I'm going down that alley. And then later they wish they hadn't. They get robbed or beaten up or something. I'm using kind of a new age-ish way to get around and get answer your question. But the point is, you don't need a psychic. You don't need a medium. Why does a medium have to be in the middle between you and your dead person or whatever it is? They are just taking advantage of your insecurity about how you don't trust your own judgment. So the best thing to do is, if you find somebody you can talk to. I mean, I'll give you an example. I'll get off the track a little bit, but I worked with a television show where we had a woman who she lost $150,000 to a psychic.
Oof.
Yeah, and she lost her business, she lost her husband, her marriage. She had an art gallery in Beverly Hills. She was doing very well. At this point, she was ruined. So a couple years goes by. a couple years go by, and the same woman is on this other show that I go, I remember you, you know, and I said, you don't go to a psychic anymore, do you? And she said, oh, no, no, no. I have a life coach now.
Oh no.
So the point is, people need someone to talk to. And I'm not going to say that it's all bullshit. It's just that that's the psychic blues. The blues part is a bartender, a librarian. There are many people who are intuitive and kind who might be able to answer your questions without getting a hook in you. So I think that's what we keep our antennas out for. All I can do is write and publish and lecture and show the tricks so that you can be more aware of them. So what do you do? I think that you, number one, buyer beware, you know. Like I said, if they could really do these things, they wouldn't need your money. They just go to the racetrack. So just think of the obvious. Susan and I have a phrase that we use a lot. So I'm going to pass this on, okay? When you're in a situation when you need help or when you feel weak, and somebody suddenly comes into the picture out of nowhere, ask yourself, what is more likely? That this person is in touch with some sort of higher spiritual power, or are they just a clever manipulator of my emotions? Because that's all it is. It's based on emotion. So, what is more likely? Okay.
Hmm.
Nothing is, and I get in a lot of trouble with this with people, nothing is impossible, just less likely. So, no matter what it is, whether it's a tarot or a runestone or a palm reading, what is more likely? Look at the big picture. If you're at a carnival and you see this shriveled little old gypsy lady, and she's got a babushka over her head and a gold earring, and she's sitting at this little table and in the dust and the dirt, and you sit down and suddenly she starts telling you all these things there's no way in the world she could know. What do you think is going on here? She's 80 years old. That's all she's done for her
Hmm.
whole life is talk to people just like you. She learned it from her mother, who learned it from her mother, and it's been passed down. Why are we surprised that somebody knows about human nature and is able to look at the muscles in your face and tell you things? So, if you're looking for entertainment, go for it. But if you're looking for something to change your life, I hate to say this, but look within or something like that, you know, or balance the two. I used to tell people when I was doing readings, I would say, get 3 readings and then look at what's the common thread that's through all of those. That's probably where the truth is. But you can figure it out yourself. Most people know the answer to the question that they have. They just don't want to answer it. They want someone else to validate it for them. So if you can have the strength to ask yourself that question, you don't need to spend $780,000.
That hurts to hear. That last. I mean, that's just incredible amount of money. Unbelievable.
So I'm not sure if I answered your question, but it's sort of in a philosophical way. I can't give you an exact. It's like, what do I look for when I'm driving on the freeway?
Yeah, ladders, ladders.
Yeah, ladders, couches, buckets, people throwing stones off the bridge. It's hard
Hmm.
to say, but just what is more likely?
Mark Edward, thank you very much. This is fascinating. I love this stuff. I'm glad we got a chance to finally do this.
Thank you. Me too.
Hope y'all enjoyed that. Plenty more episodes of the Jordan Harbinger Show, especially in our podcast feed. More shows than I even put here on YouTube. Those episodes are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Now click here for an interview with my friend who's a cat burglar for hire, Jenny Radcliffe. And click here for an interview with Harry Hursty, who hacks election and voting machines in a matter of seconds. And also click here to subscribe to the channel.